Hello and welcome to Mystery Monday number 29, where our learning goal is to cite strong and thorough textual evidence to support an analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text, including where the text leaves matters uncertain. At the end of today's lesson, you will be asked to rate yourself on a scale of 1 through 4. If you rate yourself out of 4, that means that you are able to draw inferences from the text, point to the evidence that the author uses to prove his or her point, and you're able to identify where the text leaves matters uncertain. You're also picking up on nuance, like sarcasm and irony. If you're at a 3, that means that you can draw inferences from the text, and you can point to the evidence that the author uses to prove his or her point and where the text leaves matters uncertain. If you're at a 2, that means you can draw inferences from the text and point to the evidence that the author uses to prove his or her point. And if you're at a 1, that means that you are unsure of how to draw those inferences. Our goal is to get everybody to a 3. So if you're at a 4, you're sort of going above and beyond. If you're at a 2, that means you're close. And if you're at a 1, and please tell me if you're at a 1. A 1 tells me a lot. It tells me that I need to do better as far as explaining how to make an inference. I can identify the talking points a little more clearly. I can explain what a inference is more clearly. Anything that I think maybe could help you get to a 3. So the goal, of course, is to get everybody to a 3 for this lesson. So Mystery Monday number 29, a surprise witness for the Highland Press case. Normally, Jane Forrester didn't waste her time even thinking about buying a lottery ticket. The logic of such a move, given the odds of winning, had always eluded her. It was only after she left the Toby Jug the day before Christmas that Jane gave the idea serious consideration for the very first time. Standing there in the parking lot, digging in her purse for her car keys, it occurred to her that she might be well on a streak of good luck. First, there was the matter of bumping into Wally Burks. Not just bumping. She'd walked right into him, almost knocked him over. She'd been heading for the one empty stool at the bar in the Toby Jug, then suddenly changed her mind and walked to the back of the washroom. With her thoughts on trying to identify just which one of the patrons was Wally Burks, she crashed into the back of a man in a blue parka who'd stopped suddenly at the entrance to the little alcove. Directly ahead, a bright red door said, "Private." On the left wall was the ladies' door, and opposite it the gents', both in bright red. Funny how she remembered the colors. The red doors and his blue parka, and the truly ugly carpeting, ochre. Who on earth picks ochre? Probably the color stuck because of the phone call just before noon. "You're Forrester, they tell me. Jane Forrester?" a gravely and very pedantic voice had asked. "Well, I'm Burks, Wally Burks. That's Walter, of course. And the only one to ever call me Walter was my mother, and actually, she's been dead now. Oh, some 20 years. Even my teachers never called me Walter." "Sir," Jane broke in before she got a life history complete with favorite foods. "You wanted to speak with me about something, sir?" "Well, actually, yes. You see, I've been sitting here thinking. Got lots of time to do that now. Actually, I'm retired, you see, and... Sir, could you tell me what it is you wanted to speak to me about?" Jane tried to keep the edge out of her voice. "Okay, yes, right, sure. The Highland Press thing. Outside the Toby Jug? That's my favorite pub. And I saw something. Well, actually, I should have called you before this, but you see, a person doesn't always want to get involved now, does he? And I was thinking, matter of fact, I was just saying to my brother-in-law the other day." Despite herself, Jane held off interrupting. The Highland Press case was one of the open files on her desk, and every lead had been exhausted. Only a plum like a surprise witness was going to give her a break. "So, I was thinking, actually, I should meet you there. At the pub." Jane took a deep breath. "Yes, sir, that sounds like a good idea. Could we meet this afternoon?" "Actually, I was just going to suggest that. I'll be there wearing a gray parka so you'll know who I am. It's got a nice black fur trim on the hood. My daughter and son-in-law gave it to me for Christmas 2 years ago. They live..." "Mr. Burks, can you be there at 3 o'clock?" "Well now, I suppose I could. You see, the pub's right on the way to..." "That's great, Mr. Burks. I'll see you then. Bye for now." Between the time of that call and her visit to the Toby Jug, Jane Forrester tried without success to put Wally Burke out of her mind. It was obvious he was the kind of person who could take the charge out of a light brigade sound like instructions for repotting azaleas. But the Highland Press case was a stickler, and if he could help, then... As it turned out, Jane's time at the pub was mercifully brief. When she apologized to the man in the blue parka, he turned around very slowly. "Now, I recognize that voice, don't I? Jane Forrester? Actually, I was wondering how we'd meet. This is a pretty big place, and busy. I have to go in there, you see." With his thumb, he pointed over his shoulders at the doors. "At my age, a person has to... Well, I don't want to talk about that to a lady. But you see, the thing is, I don't have my gray parka on like I told you I would. You'd never guess what happened. I went out to the back porch to get it. You see, before my wife got sick, we had the porch closed in. She always called it the sunroom after that. I could never get used to that. A porch is a porch, I always say." At that very moment, another piece of good luck happened. Jane's beeper screamed at her, and even before she'd scanned for the numbers, she was saying, "Oh, Mr. Burks, I'm dreadfully sorry. An emergency. Look, I have to go. Now, someone from my office will call you for your information. It won't be me. One of my colleagues." With that, she'd spun on her heels and disappeared before Wally Burks could wind up again. 3 bits of luck, she thought to herself in the parking lot, each saving her from wasting time with Wally Burks on the Highland Press case. Definitely worth considering a lottery ticket. Jane Forrester's accidental bump and her beeper sounding are 2 bits of good luck. The third is the clue that tells her why Wally is likely not a reliable informant, for he's already lied to her once. What is that lie? So here's an exchange that is quite interesting and quite telling. And if you can identify what is going on here, you are able to identify where the text leaves matters uncertain. This is one of those skills that I want you to be able to do to get to a 3. So I'm going to read it, and we'll talk through it in just a second. As it turns out, Jane's time at the pub was mercifully brief. When she apologized to the man in the blue parka, he turned around very slowly. "Now, I recognize that voice, don't I, Jane Forrester? Actually, I was wondering how we'd meet. This is a pretty big place, and busy. I have to go in there, you see." With his thumb, he pointed over his shoulder at the doors. "At my age, a person has to... Well, I don't want to talk about that to a lady." Alright, so here are the questions that we have regarding our Mystery Monday number 29. The first is, when you go to your favorite restaurant, think about what your favorite restaurant is. Do you know where the restroom is? And why do you know where the restroom is? Probably because it's your favorite restaurant and you've been there many times. Number 2, Jane Forrester is annoyed by Wally Burks. What line or lines tell you this? And why is she annoyed? I'm going to fix some of the grammatical issues. Your answer should be in 2 parts. You should be identifying what line tells you that, and you should also be able to tell me why she's annoyed. That's that nuance, and that I want you to be able to answer. And then answer the following question: Jane Forrester's accidental bump and her beeping sounder are 2 bits of good luck. The third is the clue that tells her why Wally is likely not a reliable informant, for he has already lied to her once. What is that lie? And then finally, where would you rank your ability to make inferences according to this scale on the front page, which is here? So I'll scroll back up here. This 4, 3, 2, 1. Answer the question at the right. Where would you rate your ability to make inferences and everything that goes into making that inference? Once you've answered these questions, you have earned your Mystery Monday number 29 unit. That is all from me, and so ciao for now.